the stiff truth.
I'm not going to start with that. That's all right, everybody. Welcome to the Stiff Truth. There it is. I might as well just stop after I say Stiff Truth and wait for it because it always gets me more jazzed when you do that. But I was going to say, I'm Scott Castelnova. Of course, with me as always, my co-host, Bob West. How the hell you doing, buddy? You're looking great.
I'm feeling great. It's been a great couple of weekends. We didn't do a show last weekend because once a year we get recognized for being humans as fathers, and that was last weekend. So we took the weekend off to celebrate ourselves, which is not to be confused with every other weekend off that we might celebrate ourselves.
Goddamn right, my friend. Yeah, that's true. Couple weeks off, but I do feel that Father's Day is definitely the one time of year. This is not unique in any sense, but again, just my feeling here. One time of the year where I always feel appreciated by my family, but it shines. I mean, I literally, let's just face it, Bob, I feel I get pampered on Father's Day and I love it. I honestly feel slightly guilty. I'm going to go ahead and put that out there right now. I don't know about you, but we'll walk through it here, in just a minute here, because I'm dying to hear the details on what you guys did. I think the Stiffies want to know too, but do you feel the same way?
I do. I think that Father's Day is on a higher pedestal than my birthday, personally, because we have children, right? I guess if we didn't have kids, it wouldn't matter, because your own point. Dad with no kids to support you, you just have to. At our age, you like call the old man, send him something from Amazon, probably wrapped with a nice little note, and then call him on Father's Day, say Happy Father's Day. You're an all right dude. I turned out not to be a piece of shit. Thanks, Dad. And then we move on. But when you're a father yourself, then it makes it much better, especially when, we're fortunate enough to have wife and children that really do respect us and love us and devote time and thoughtfulness to our days. And I think we both got examples of that over the Father's Day weekend, to where, again, I got put on a little pedestal. I'm too fat for them to walk me around like the Queen of Egypt back in the day. But metaphorically speaking, that's what was going on in my house.
I love it. I got visuals right now, and I wish
I
was
there. Grapes. They're walking around with sticks on their shoulders, and I'm just like up there with my belly hanging out.
I see the kids and the wife like straining to carry you and maintain, and kind of crying a little bit, but tears of joy nonetheless, because again, they're so proud to do it. They can carry it.
Meanwhile, I've got the bronzing agent on, looking like a dude from 300.
Gotta have that. Oh, dude, airbrushed abs, just fantastic looking stuff. I'll tell you what, though, as we do here at the Stiff Truth, equally as important as celebrating the awe and amazingness of ourselves and the jobs that we do as parents and husbands and just people in general. What are you drinking today, my friend? Because this is a dandy of a looker, I'll tell you that. It looks kind of like menstrual blood. I'm not gonna lie, kind of does. It's a nice, it's like a deep red. You know what I mean? But what do you got there, bud?
It's very interesting. We've got us a long drink here, and observe the colors.
Here we go.
It's nice and red and rich. But it's definitely a long drink, very boozy drink, not to be undersold. This is electric watermelon. Tastes a lot of like a Jolly Rancher, to be honest, but very unique drink. Has all the booze you would want in it. It's got rum, tequila, gin, vodka, triple sec, melon liqueur, and grenadine, and orange juice, and a little bit of Sprite.
Yeah, a little bit of Sprite.
Get it all in there, right?
Yeah.
But it's a good one. It's honestly it's a bit of a panty dropper, right? It's nice and strong, but it's really sweet. You really can't taste the booze in it. It tastes very much like watermelon punch or something. You could very easily have too many of these and wake up with an epic hangover, not realizing that you drank so much booze.
Yes. Or more strategically, your first date that you got from you met during Sunday school church kind of thing. She has a few too many of these as you're just giving her punch on your first. What are you guys doing? You're going to like the petting zoo, I would imagine. Maybe go-karts. I don't know. Maybe getting wild and doing some putt golf too. But yeah, this one would lead to some potential panty dropping.
She would wake up in the morning with the hangover calling the number that doesn't work that you gave her.
Yeah. the all too reliable 555 number.
That's right. Just call 555 help and just ask for Todd. It's just like, is it your name? Is it your name, Bob? What? No,
Todd, no. Bob. I could see how you got that.
You were drinking a lot last night.
You had a little bit too much fruit punch, by the way. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And the good old long drinks, I really have grown to love these here, especially on our show, because we try to keep the integrity of having a stiff cocktail. And when you line up what I like to call the four horsemen right out of the gate, and that's the vodka, gin, rum, and tequila. If that's your starter for reading ingredients of a drink, you're yeah. You already know where we're going, right? Like this is not going to be a punk bitch drink. And depending on how the other kind of mixing liqueurs and mixers in general go to the finish line, you can come up with quite some interesting flavor profiles here, because essentially, I don't know what it is, Bob, but when you mix the four horsemen, it kind of washes away the aftertaste of like hardcore alcohol. You know what I mean? If we literally just take
something just happened.
Okay,
you
hear me?
We're back. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was strange. So anyway, you mix the four horsemen, and
yes, something magical happens when you throw those four bad boys together in a mixer, and just I don't know. Again, the booziness just kind of disappears. It's interesting, but this one we were talking about too. I think it went a little bit overboard on the grenadine. That's just my personal opinion, because I'm looking to have like 2 or 3 of these minimally, Bob. You know what I'm saying?
That's a lot of grenadine.
Yes. Because let me break this down, everybody, because I know, again, everybody's like, you guys are beating around the bush. How do you make this drink? And like totality here, just quit. Like,
well, it's called a tease in the biz, and we'll let you know how we're making this coming up after this next topic.
And half ounce of
hold on. We had another hiccup there.
We did.
Yeah, we totally did. It must be me, because I'm getting internet connection is unstable.
Oh,
well, I don't know.
Yeah, I just checked mine. We're good over here on this end. Here.
I mean,
are we okay?
Well,
are we okay?
I'm good over here as well, but I think Zoom is not.
Fucking Zoom doesn't like it. That's 2:30 in the afternoon on a Sunday. It's prime time for downloading gay porn. You know what I mean? So you can't you got to compete with that bandwidth of demand. So it's a hard one.
Here we like to keep it open with our logistical issues. So
yes, absolutely. But what I was saying though is a little heavy on the grenadine. I think we could have dialed that down a little bit here. But it is interesting. It's we were talking about like how you can use a little bit of melon liqueur, because again, this is 4 like half ounces of everything, gin, rum, tequila, vodka. And then you got a half ounce of triple sec, half ounce of melon liqueur, and then an ounce of grenadine and an ounce of orange juice, then a splash of lemon lime soda. I think you could have eliminated the grenadine altogether, or maybe just like a half ounce max of grenadine, and you probably got yourself a way more sippable drink for the long term. You know what I mean?
I would even say at most you get more lemon lime soda in there and a splash of grenadine. That's what I would say. Not even a half ounce, just a splash for color and a little bit of sweetness, and then just move right on. Because an ounce of grenadine, that's tough. That's like eating like 2 or 3 sugar cubes just like by itself. that's pretty hardcore, you know. So yeah, that's we could probably tweak this drink and make it give it a TST twist.
Absolutely. In fact, I would probably go with, like we were talking about before we started recording, I'd probably just repurpose this bad boy and rename it the Electric Cantaloupe or Electric Honeydew, and very simply just eliminate the grenadine altogether and have a little bit of fun with some other additives here. Maybe a little bit more orange juice for the cantaloupe, and then just maybe no orange juice at all, and just lemon lime soda, right? For the honeydew.
Maybe no orange juice. You keep the lemon lime soda, but you put a dash of orange bitters in it.
Ooh, interesting.
Just class it up a little.
You know, I'm not too quick to pull out the orange juice, though. I'm a huge fan of an orange juice mixer. But again, we'll play around with this. But I'll tell you what, though, well done here. And I'm not going to add this one to the normal repertoire, so to speak, over here at the Castle Nova house. But this is definitely one that I do bring out for social gatherings here, because I think it's very palatable. It's very easy drinking, and they're fun to make too. I think actually having like an audience while you're making these, and then seeing the face, the reaction of like how sweet and non-boozy it tastes, but how much balls it has at the end of the day would be respectable. You know what I mean?
I think I agree. I think this is one that you bust out and keep in the back burner. So when someone comes over that's, well, I just normally drink, hard ciders or whatever. I'll take a drink. Make me something, sweet or something good. I don't want it to taste too boozy. Like, I got something for you, right? And you just like go to your book, mix it up with them, and again, get that surprise reaction. Because you get a little bit intimidated when you start seeing hard liquor, hard liquor, hard liquor, hard liquor. What the fuck are they about to give me? Oh my God. Then you taste it, you're like, wow, this tastes like fruit punch.
Right. Yeah. So big takeaway here. When you feel yourself having like a Bill Cosby kind of evening, this is one you bust out for those unknowing people, just to kind of sneak one by them, so to speak. You know what I mean?
A couple of these and like some downers. It's a party.
What's your secret ingredient? You're like,
that mint I gave you like an hour ago.
Yeah. I was like, well, the cocktail's not bad, but the Xanax and Trazodone mixture I gave you is going to probably do it. That's the one that's going to get me where I want to be, so to speak.
Yeah, it's cool. This drink has a special thing that gets you drunk, and it lowers anxiety. It helps you sleep.
And it lowers my anxiety while you sleep. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Oh, goodness. But hey, like we were talking about here, quick rundown here. I'll give you just a little bit of the agenda, so to speak, that I had for Father's Day. And then I'll turn it over to you, see what you did. But it was really nice of the family to treat it this way. But woke up, first off, I have to tell you, I woke up to a crock pot that was just kind of simmering from overnight, having like a large piece of corned beef in there that was slow cooking, starting at like 10 p.m. the night before. So we had that going on in the morning, just like, pulling it apart nice and moist and soft or what have you. And then the girls made me some corned beef hash and eggs with, like, again, homemade corned beef with some green chili and poached eggs. It was phenomenal, right? After that, we kind of chilled after breakfast. Me and Jamie busted open a bottle of a champagne, had some mimosas. I, in turn, during this little downtime from now till the lunchtime, played some COD, just to kind of ease my mind a little bit by raping small children, as we like to do. Then we went to Benihana's.
Metaphorically speaking, of course.
I'll take that out of context. I don't care. I'm ready for it, man. But yes, then we went to Benihana's for lunch. I got the deluxe treat. If you're not familiar with that, that's the cold water lobster tail and the filet mignon. Fantastic stuff.
Okay, I thought it was something that you got when the kids went to bed.
Yeah, well,
so thank you for explaining that.
At Benihana's, yeah, definitely. And then from there, after Benihana's, we went over to Dave & Buster, played some games, had a couple of beers there, played some games. It was fantastic. Went home, and then for dinner, my favorite dish, Jamie cooked me up linguine and clams with some, white wine sauce. That was fantastic. And then from there, after that, just kind of relaxed, chilled with the family. But again, just kind of like an all-around celebration, and just really engorging myself with some of my most delicious treats on this earth. It was fantastic. What about you?
So I started off the morning going to McDonald's and picking up a bunch of sandwiches and stuff because I want to cook. So we got down there, so we didn't have to cook for Father's Day. So that was cool. Because personally, I love an egg McMuffin and a hash brown.
There's really nothing better. Yeah, there's nothing better in the morning.
So that was my kind of Father's Day breakfast. That was my choice. I woke up to just a bunch of gifts and cards on the table all laid out for me, obvious, thoughtful expression of love and appreciation for my family and my kids and my wife. So that was really cool. Throughout the day, I dropped the ball. I did not have any Prosecco, champagne. I didn't have anything in the house to start my morning off on Father's Day with some kind of Father's Day tradition at this point with man mimosas. That's just how it's done anymore. And for a little rewind, a man mimosa is a mimosa with a shot of vodka. It's a Stiff Truth special right there.
It really is.
So I didn't have that. So around 11 o'clock, I just started drinking in general. I started drinking, but I started hooking it up with some double whiskey sours with homemade sour mix, fresh squeezed lemons, cherries inside. I really like did myself up, and I had several of those throughout the first few hours, early morning or late morning, early afternoon kind of thing, and then ended up barbecuing. We had some New York strips that we had gotten, so we did up with some I grilled some steaks because customary, I guess, to do some steaks and grilling in my house for Father's Day.
Oh yeah.
Then it was Jess made some it was asparagus and Brussels sprouts, and it was just a fantastic dinner. It's really, really top-notch dinner. It was just like we had said earlier, it was a day of appreciation, and I felt the love and I felt the appreciation, and I'm really fortunate and proud to have a family that can hook that up once a day and just kind of let's make it all about Dad. And that's a really neat thing. And I think a lot of fathers out there kind of get shit on for Father's Day, and so especially the non-custodial dads out there, and so I'm with you guys. Father's Day is important, even if you can't have your kids 100% of the time. So it was a good day. 100%. It was a great day.
I do kind of run with these things, though, as I think any human does that enjoys this feeling and that satisfaction there. I do wonder what it would be like to have that day as a repeat, that kind of appreciation, that kind of pedestal riding, every single day for the entire year. And would I get sick of it? Maybe so. Would I not? I don't know. It would be kind of nice to be pampered around the clock. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, but then you'd be Mom.
Touche. Oh my God. You know what I mean?
I'm glad my wife quit listening to the show. She's just behind. Sorry. She's just behind. Like
sure. Yeah. I totally get it. I will add one more thing, though, too. I did get, and I showed you this. This is kind of like every holiday is a reason to do this. But Jamie did also get me a bottle of Redbreast, which is phenomenal. I still have about half that left, though. But on Father's Day, at the end of the evening, I did probably have almost half of that. Maybe, a little less than half. But fun
now,
times.
Hold on. So,
yeah,
a little bit of coincidence, and it's not going to shake down like this every year.
What's that?
How badass was it that there's a federal holiday now around Father's Day?
Mm-hmm. I like it.
You had to work though, right?
I did. Yes,
a little bit of a bummer.
Yeah, I did. I got constantly reminded that it was Juneteenth and everybody else had the day off except for me, who was kind of just going on business as usual.
I was sending you pictures of me in the pool with a drink.
Yeah, there was that. And then like, my CRM and other things I use for work had like bannered at the top, like today is a federal holiday in the United States. I was like, right on. Thank you for that. Like, what are you even doing on right now? Like the AI of the program telling me like this is not right. Yeah, no, it was pretty cool though. A lot of things going on around that time this year. It really did line up nicely for celebrations. But I'll tell you what, Bob, I just started my second electric watermelon here, and I think I'm ready to get down to business with you and talk about some squishy topics. Does that sound nice? Some squishy topics, some sticky topics.
What feels some squishy topics? So much was going on while we are fucking gone. I mean, we take like one weekend off, and like the fucking America is like crumbling. It's just insane, like how shit seems to happen every time we're gone. But I think we should go ahead and start off with the January 6th hearings.
Yeah, let's start there. Let's start there. We'll ease into how when we took time off, like exponentially the rise in coat hanger abortions, and stuff like that. We'll get into that in just a hot minute, so to speak. But yeah, man.
Coming up next, we talked about how women are no longer matter. We'll get there.
Yeah. But these committee hearings, dude. I mean, we talked about this last week, even this week. I think I've been watching them. I've been trying to see if there's any real product coming out of this outside of optics, you know what I mean? And then there's a certain amount of like, well, we can't just let what happened without kind of a dog and pony show. I'm just going to go ahead and say to a large degree, because it is what it is. I was watching something earlier that just kind of made me think. I was like, okay, January 6th was a big deal. It was a big deal. I was fucking pretty upset about the entire scene, right? I was, but again, like the way some people on the left right now are talking about these hearings and like what it's done to the fabric of American society. Like this is the signal. Like January 6th was the turning point for like the American experience beginning to fail. And I was like, if that's the case, then we wouldn't be making all this noise about January 6th. We wouldn't have confirmed Biden as the president. We wouldn't have had these hearings if it was really the breakdown of the American experience. So they need to calm down a little bit with that dramatics. But on the other side of the table here, is this really doing anything to sway Trump supporters?
No, because they think it's all lie. So
that's the unfortunate thing. You know what I mean? Like, again, I don't think people need to be swayed. There's my other thing. I think actions and the reality of the past 4 or 5 years speak for themselves for somebody like myself, where I was at first like, I'm not a big Hillary fan, not a real big Trump fan, but I'm kind of up in the air. I really don't like Hillary, so we'll see what happens. I wasn't like horribly upset when Trump became president, when it was defeating Hillary Clinton. I think at the end of the day, I was probably in the camp of like, I just don't want to have Hillary Clinton in there. She seems really evil to me and I don't like her. I don't trust her. Whereas there's a big question mark behind Trump. That was 2015, 2016, right? You fast forward 4 years and I was like, okay, there were some good things in the Trump presidency that I could point at and say that was nice during this time. Gas prices were great during this time. I mean, I can point at things that line up with his presidency that may or may not have anything to do with him specifically.
Yes, with any presidency, right?
Right. They kind of, they're the fall guy, or they take the credit for whatever's going on at the time they're in office, whether or not those plans took a long time to materialize.
We won a gold in Olympic figure skating. Thanks, President.
Right. That was all me. But seriously, there's a lot that happened in the past 2016 to 2020, 2021, even, where I was like, okay, this is an embarrassment to me. I feel personally embarrassed with this guy representing our country. Now, again, in 2020, we kind of had one of those things where it was like, okay, we got to get Trump out of here.
We got no one else to give it to except for this old guy over here.
Yeah. And now let's be honest, I'm still okay with Trump being out of office, but now I'm also like, well, we did what we had to do, kind of collateral damage to a large degree. And now here we are, and not a good situation at all either. Right. Like so no matter how you slice it. But again, going back to January 6th, my whole point of like kind of laying out that timeline there is I don't think really anything's going to happen to Trump. Like we were talking about, we've got to get some pretty heavy involvement, and people have to kind of put their chips down in the DOJ and otherwise if they want to bring up criminal charges against Trump and really, really pursue that hardcore. And even if they do, like, I think already, because there hasn't been any kind of like universal accountability like laid on Trump, and they haven't been able to prove that, it's going to be really hard to prove that he did something that's unconstitutional. It's more, in my mind, like his inaction is more of the problem versus his actions. You know what I mean? Like he kind of just stood on the sidelines when things went crazy, when he could have been a spokesman to cool things down a lot quicker and kind of get everybody in line, since there's a large part of this country, which is unfortunate, that are kind of like just Trumper soldiers, and they're going to do whatever the fucking guy says.
And that's unfortunate, even if it's Biden soldiers. Like you shouldn't support your politician like you do like your NFL team. It's just strange. We shouldn't be treating politicians like deities. You know what I mean? These aren't godlike people. In fact, they're probably a lot more flawed than you and I. But again, like watching all these committees, they got 2 more that are lined up, right? There's been like, I think 4 or something like that so far. Pause there. I heard that they got postponed. Yeah, one of them that was supposed to be on the 23rd got postponed. So there's 2 more that are to be determined when they're actually going to take place, but they're slated for sometime in July. So it's like game 6 if necessary. Yeah, right, exactly. Okay. But again, like I've been watching this, and here's what I'm seeing. Again, what happened was Trump had some pretty
pretty crazy extreme supporters. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of Republicans, there's a lot of conservative people that just support Trump and they just don't like Biden, they didn't like Hillary, and they're not fucking batshit crazy. I get that. They're not out there fucking like claiming QAnon and everything was fake. They understand that the election happened the way it was. Unfortunately, they're not very noisy, even though they may be the slight majority versus, the extreme crazy MAGA people, if you want to call them that or what have you. However, like we've talked about before, the extremes they always make a lot more noise. So here we are, right? But what really seems to happen is, and what's so crazy? If we go back about a year and a half or so, we did a show, and part of our show was like, hey, what if, like, you know how Trump is, dude? He's fucking crazy. He's very egotistical. He doesn't like to not be right or win because he's had like a silver spoon his whole life. What if he doesn't leave office? And remember us like laughing about it? It's like, you think he's going to barricade himself in the Oval Office and like phone in like this, the Secret Service while he can and like have a standoff? Like, I'm not leaving. He kind of did that, right? Yeah. Like this is like really like what it really shakes down to is Trump got voted out. He didn't like the outcome, and he tried to reverse the outcome just like he's done his entire life and usually been successful because he's been rich and had pull places, right? If something happened that Trump didn't like, he usually could get his powerful friends and pay them to make it his way and to make it like all for him, right?
Or use litigation with
attorneys
and court fees.
Either way, he's been able to throw money and resources and powers at issues that weren't in his favor and make it his way, make it his favor, right? It didn't work out that way. There was actually some Republicans like in Arizona and Georgia that said, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go like push these alternate electoral votes and like try to swing the election your way after the fact, because in essence, what the funny, ironic thing is like Trump and all his Trumpers are screaming voter fraud. They won't even believe in the institution of American voting anymore because they stole the election away from him. And then to fix it, they're going to create even more voter fraud to make sure that it goes the right way, which to me just drips with irony. So
did you get a chance to catch any of Bill Barr's testimony? So Bill Barr is a fairly strong Trump supporter the whole time he was in office, right up until like the last few months.
Well, and one hell of a friend of the show. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, of course. Anyway, he testified. He said the DOJ had to investigate the voter fraud claims and prove them wrong, because if we didn't think Trump would accept the election at all if we didn't go ahead and investigate that and tell him that we did look into it and there is no evidence of any of these claims, which he did. And he might have been looking for it. All right, well, I'll see if there's any validity to this, because if there is, we can't have that, and if there's not, we can't have you thinking that and your supporters thinking that. So once again, Bill Barr, a little bit more on the conservative side, but I think he's clearly in that group of Republicans that you were talking about earlier. Traditionalist Republicans. He's a Bush guy. He's not too far right with extreme with some of these newer, MAGA people. And so as conservative as he may be, he's still patriot, and he still did whatever he thought was right, for the country from his standpoint. And it was just very interesting testimony about that whole thing, because there was always question, is he going to get the DOJ to in on this with him? And Bill Barr wasn't having any of that, like at all. So it's just very interesting testimony. And just the 6 hearings in general, we talked about this off air about, I understand why mostly the Democrats, a couple of old school kind of Republicans that don't give a fuck about what their party thinks.
The ID gaff Republicans out there, like Liz Cheney, you know what I mean? Like,
very much. And you know what? Kind of like her old man. He had very much to gaff to him too. So very, very strong-willed people there. And so I understand why they want to get some of this evidence out. They want to let America know that it's not necessary. It's not as partisan as some of the rhetoric may have you believe, even though it's clear that there's plenty of partisan points being made in the grandstand dog and pony show. But it's also an actual investigation, right? It's not a witch hunt. They have a lot of evidence. They've been following a lot of leads. They've been doing a lot of due diligence. The way they're presenting it, I think, is much more partisan than the way it was investigated.
Yeah.
So there is some of that, and they can't talk about anything ongoing. Going after Trump would be moot. You'll never get Trump on any criminal charges. And a jury of your peers, the attorneys will just make sure there's MAGA people on the jury, and it'll be hung at best. You'll never get anywhere beyond a reasonable doubt with the jury. So it's dumb to chase that.
Well, honestly, with how much money we don't have for anything else, do we want to waste any resources on that federally? I think anybody that's rational, you know what I mean, and understands like being grounded a little bit, is like this is pointless. You know what I mean? So to your point, like doesn't make any sense.
I think it's more important for America to realize that through all of this investigation is that there can be loopholes if people are in.
Uh-oh.
Oh, you're back. So there can be loopholes in the voting system if people are in certain positions to make changes. Like it was theoretically possible for a state legislator to overturn an election. You even saw, I believe it was Alabama, that just said that they're going to be able to have the power to do that in the future or something like that. So that is in theory possible if there's some really outrageously radical people in charge of the voting systems in states, and with a party that's aligned, whether it's Democrat or Republican, there can be collusion in the voting registration at the end of the process. And I think that now it would be unfathomable before to even think that, elected officials are still patriots. They would never do that. I don't think that that's the case. And I think that's one of the most important things to take out of all of this is if you're on the far left or even the moderate left or whatever, and you're like, get Trump, that is not what this is about. You're fucking missing the point. Right.
I just interject real quick here. You know who was just fucking foaming out the mouth to get involved with this was your boy
Adam Schiff.
Adam Schiff. He's like, all right, Trump, you won round one, you motherfucker. There was no Russian collusion. However, I got you now. But yeah, you could see the passion in that guy's eyes. He literally wants to ass fuck Trump, like painfully so. I'm telling you, that's just my take. That's my hot take right there. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
They're probably boys behind the scene, and this is all political theater.
Oh man, I don't know. Maybe I would. This is one thing. We know how everybody's pretty buddy and chummy. They're all in the same political locker room at the end of the day, like whipping towels at each other. But I think Schiff and Trump, I think there's a little bit of a rift there.
Yeah, and honestly, dude, I don't really think Trump has any friends, like actual friends. I just don't think he does. I think he's an asshole. Just in general, like no one wants to be around the guy. I find it really hard to believe that there's someone that'll play COD with him and get drunk until midnight. I don't see it happening.
I mean, I don't know, bro. From what I understand, like him and Tom Brady are boys. You know what I mean? So there's that. Maybe they play Madden together. Maybe that's what they do.
Maybe.
And Trump has to be Tom Brady. Or why they play, which
is like, you're gonna have to be Mahomes. so I think that's the thing to take from this hearing, and what they're investigating is kind of what the whole collusion plan was, and what the possibilities were, and what Giuliani was proposing, and all of that, because he was pretty much heading a lot of this up from the evidence that's been turned over. So I think that's the thing to take away, not the witch hunt aspect. It's what's been exposed, and let's shore up some of these loopholes before something bad does happen.
Yeah, sure. No, I agree 100%. But again, I was what I was seeing earlier too was blowing up, which it doesn't have much to do with the actual hearings themselves, but it was just some people, mainly on the left, are taking January 6th to a monumental level of importance that, quite frankly, it doesn't need to be there, right? They're almost like putting it up to like a parallel of assassinating like Abraham Lincoln or something like that. You're like, calm down a little bit. If anything, this does show the resolve of the American people on a whole, and that we are still very much like going in the right direction when it comes to this being a successful, as much as it can be with humans, let's just face it, American experiment. And that's one thing that I wanted to kind of just remind everybody, just dial it down a little bit out there. This is a good thing. We are making a big deal about this, and we are following up on it. Like you were saying, to like patch some holes here and make sure like, hey, what just happened was pretty fucking crazy that it even got to this that even got that far, because we've never had anything like this in American history to where we're like, whoa, this president's like just not going to leave. Like, what are we doing here? Like, what do we do here? But luckily, again, even members of his own party were like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And thankfully, it's probably because, and I'm just going to say this without even bringing in character of any of these individuals, this is not fucking like backdoor handling that Trump can do with like business people. All these other people are under the magnifying glass of the public already too. So all these things that he's trying to do, there's people watching. There's a lot of people watching, and a lot of that's being passed on to the public. And that kind of motivates people sometimes to do the right thing, you know, at least a right enough to get reelected in their positions. So there is that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I agree. I do think that the sweet irony from the left, really pushing the January 6th hearings, is that by them alienating the right so much, they're going to lose some of those moderates that are like, well, I agree. This January 6th thing can't happen again, but
yeah.
You guys are pretty radical about it. And I'm still not on board with your radicalist ideas.
Right.
If they were a little bit more toned down, they'd probably get a lot more support from the middle of the aisle. And I think that's really the Democrats' problem with most things, is that they don't tone it down enough to get support from the middle.
That's a fantastic point here. And if you think about it, I think both you and I feel this too. And we're already kind of mainly established in our ways, meaning like what we believe in and, you know, kind of where we go politically. But at the same time, I waffle back and forth on certain candidates, regardless of their party affiliation, because I'm kind of looking for like specifics on character and certain topics before I make my decision. And the obsession that the left has with fucking Trump is old. It's old, and it leaves a bad taste in anybody's mouth that's looking to kind of like reestablish themselves with something going on right now, somebody that could have power or take charge and do something. And they're like, God damn it. They won't leave this alone. They won't give it up. They won't fucking deflate a little bit. They have to make this like the end all be all with what they're doing and their mission right now. And that's just kind of sad. And I think that's where they're, like you were saying, it's kind of where they're losing a lot of people that are on the fence. Is like, God damn, like if you like, again, 9 times out of 10 before the Roe v. Wade thing that just got overturned on Friday, if you turn on CNN or MSNBC, 9 out of 10, they're talking about January 6th, whereas of course Fox is avoiding it as much as possible, right? So it's just kind of, again, it is what it is. But if you're flipping around, soul searching, so to speak, politically soul searching, and that's got to leave it a bad taste in your mouth too, because you're ready to move past it and like, let's handle inflation, let's handle the war in Ukraine, let's handle this and that, and they're like, oh, okay, we're still beating the shit out of January 6th. Awesome. Great. It just,
well, and honestly, like I said, it's important to like show like the dangers and some things that need to be cleaned up and close some loopholes. But in the end, move on from Trump. That dude's not even a politician anymore for a couple years now. There's so much shit that we need to fix right now. Like, chasing after Trump's ghost in office is not a priority at all. And I think that the fixation from the left on Trump is really losing ground when there's a huge opportunity to show what you can do when you have a majority, albeit slight, to the constituents and the people that you are trying to lure in to vote for you in the midterms. And they're wasting that opportunity out of just this overzealous passion to go get the boogeyman. You know what I mean? And I think that, again, Democratic leadership is just out of touch.
And here's the other thing, to give them some credit. And I kind of say this in a sarcastic way, but they're obsessed with smearing Trump because there is a likelihood he could come back and be a legitimate candidate for the presidency in 2024. And again, me just saying that, it's hard for me to get that past my throat, but yet here we are. It's the reality of where it is. There's still a lot of support for this man from the right. And I don't think there's anybody on the left that they think can go up against him. You know what I mean?
Well, I'll tell you this. I think he's going to have a hard time running against DeSantis in the primaries.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? Hey, that's another conversation altogether. But
that's a whole nother show.
but just that he's legitimately in the mix, and all this has happened to him, all this to his credibility and his legacy has already been tarnished in my eyes. And literally, he's gonna come back 4 years later, be like, "Hey, remember me? Everything's good. Remember gas prices. Remember our energy independence. Everything was great. I'm coming back." And I think because like a failed experiment is Biden, right? Look, he got past like the first goal, and like literally he was like, okay, like many logical and grounded Democrats right now are like, what did we fucking do? We had to do it, but what did we fucking do? You know what I mean? Because at the same time, he's not a long-term good replacement, and he looks like he says like he's gonna run again, like well into his like early 80s now, and they're already ridiculous. You know what I mean? They're already like already questioning his mental capacity before his election in 2020, and he's going to come back 4 years later and just like, hey, I might have took a little bit of a misstep and a slip from 2020 to 2024, but I got your back. No, so I think they're scrambling for straws right now, but I mean, rightfully so. They haven't put anybody up on the left that seems like they're a contender in a while here. I mean, unless Obama wants to come out of retirement, which I'm pretty sure he can't do. He's already had his 2 terms, so there's that.
He can't do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen to the next one. But I don't know. January 6th hearings. I mean, I just want to see something tangible. I don't follow it day to day. I just don't. I've got life to live and things to worry about, like that's going on right now with our current administration and our current state of affairs in America, that I can't like worry about it. I understand it was important, and understand we need to like piece together what happened so that we can try to shore some things up and try to prevent, coups or attempted coups or whatever you want to call that, or widespread voter manipulation at the state level. I get it. Okay, get down to that. Get some things done. But I mean, in the end, let us know when you have something tangible. Let us know when you like are throwing up like, asking the DOJ for indictments. Let us know when you got something then. Until then, I'm just kind of not interested in the Dog and Pony show. I'm just, that's why I haven't really been following it so close. We had to kind of force ourselves to follow it for a little bit, knowing we were going to like, you know what, let's be honest to everybody here. We didn't even want to talk about January 6th and the essence of like, is this really that much of a conversation piece that we want to portray some message to our audience about this? And then we thought, you know what, let's just mention it for what it is really. Like, what are we doing here? Okay, I understand it's important, but again, what's the end game? Adam Schiff will tell you otherwise. But until well, Scott, are we not getting the evidence because there is DOJ cases looking for indictments? I mean, that's possible. And if so, I'll tune in when the DOJ starts indicting people. Right.
Here's what I tell you. I will tune in when Schiff challenges Trump to a celebrity death match, like old school MTV style.
I would just settle for like a Jake Paul style boxing match.
Oh, that'd be great. Who do you think wins there? I think Trump maybe wins that. I don't know.
Trump's pretty old, man.
How old is Schiff? Let me take a little gander here. Let me see. Adam Schiff. I got him on. I think he's like 20 years younger. God, he's got one hell of a stare. That guy. My goodness. He's 62. He's 62. He's a young buck.
Like 15 years, I guess. So
there you go.
But still, neither one of them are in any kind of boxing shape, so that'd be comical. Just like them falling all over each other for like 8 seconds, and then just like swinging wildly and holding onto ropes, but no one's hit them. So
I don't know, man. I'll leave it at this. But like for somebody like Trump, for some reason, like how you can have retard strength, right? Like I imagine he has that with just like he's not really mentally handicapped, but he kind of is. So he has like this. I don't know even what I would call it, but just some kind of delusional strength or something like that, where he just like thinks he can move mountains and he actually does. I just don't know. Like I probably would take Trump in that fight. I'm just going to throw my chips on Trump and say he's crazy enough to get it done. Schiff I don't know.
Well, I think he's got the reach. He's like 6'3", right? I think he's got the tail of the tape. I think favors Trump too.
He's got the weight and the reach. You know what I mean? But what the tail of the tape says is that Schiff could dance around him and make him tired if he's making a missile lot. You know, it could be bobbing and weaving really well. We don't know. But again, we're going to have to table that because until this happens, I'm probably not going to invest a lot more time in it.
So I've been seeing some stories lately from some out of touch Democrats.
That's like jumbo shrimp. That doesn't even make sense. That's such an oxymoron.
It's so weird where they're saying, you know, you don't have to pay these crazy gas prices. Just get an electric vehicle. Cool. The average price of electric vehicles like $52,000 or something like that. So like what? So they can't afford $5 or $6 a gallon, but they can afford like an $800 a month car payment. What the fuck is wrong with you people? I mean, some of the crazy ass things that Democrats say and do go so far against their ideology. And it's not that like both parties don't have instances of this, for sure they do, but man, like keep it to yourself. Get some PR to run some public statements out there before. Test the waters. Get some focus groups on, because when you go out there and you say poor people can just buy a $50,000 car and have an electrician hook it up to their power, and so they don't have to pay gas. Like, how fucking dumb are you? Like, I just don't understand.
That's the big thing right there. And this is an interesting conversation, Bob, because obviously, and I've spent some time researching it too, to see if there's any kind of bullshit about renewable energy, electric cars specifically. In the long run, we're in a better spot, right? We're in a better spot. It's even cheaper to maintain maintenance wise and to just have fuel wise an electric car. But the big barrier to entry right now, the exorbitant, just immense barrier to entry right now is the initial startup investment of the whole scene, right? And if you're in a very rural area, one thing that you just brought up too, like actually having the right kind of outlet installed and running lines in your house could be a pretty hefty investment too.
Yeah, like what if you have an older house that has 110 or whatever, and you have to go get a 200 box put in. Well, that's going to cost you like $3 or $4 grand, and that's before you even get the car payment in. Like, what the fuck?
It is really interesting, dude. The more and more that I think about this and just kind of research it a little bit here, we have to rip this Band-Aid off eventually. We've talked about this, right? The one thing about fossil fuels, and this makes it like the opposite of renewable, is they're finite. They're gonna fucking go away someday. So even if we don't kill ourselves by continuing to increase the ozone depletion and the carbon emissions and all that stuff in the atmosphere, that's going to make climate change much more severe on us and all the natural disasters that come with it, and the changing of the ecosystem, the dying of animals, and including ourselves. If that doesn't happen before everything runs out, we're still going to run out of that shit. So kind of like, what's the plan? Like twofold here, right? So what I've noticed here is there's got to be some harmonious kind of equal kind of attention to both fossil fuels and renewable energy, at least for the foreseeable future, in the sense that they've made leaps and bounds of just improvements on renewables. Let's take, for instance, solar panels. You're shopping for solar, right? And in the 1970s,
I'm not shopping.
You closed. Can you tell us who's that? Who is that with?
Hold on.
Is that Straight Line?
Yeah, I'm trying to find the name of the company to plug.
We'll wait. No big deal.
I have the solar company, but I don't have the old Jesse Stalker's solar and roofing company on hand, and I can't remember.
Totally over. Okay,
I'm going to find it though. Damn it.
My point is even something like that, and the construction and the sustainability of a solar panel in the 1970s was something like 1,000% more expensive than it is now. You know what I mean? I think like the actual panel itself, just some kind of construction, some just construction in general, it's like close to $800 and some part of it. Now it's down to like 50 cents. Like this continues to happen in every facet of renewable energy and technology, right? Even the mining of lithium ion, lithium, what else is used? Copper, zinc, something else to make the lithium ion batteries. Like the mining of that is extremely cheap right now versus recycling like used lithium batteries. However, they're on pace right now, companies that are recycling these raw minerals from used materials to actually be more profitable and cheaper in probably 10 to 15 years. So like we're getting better, but my point of bringing all that up is we can't completely abandon fossil fuels right now because they still do the bulk of the work for our energy. That totally makes sense. But where you can and where you are able to financially, you should go ahead like yourself and make the transition to renewable energy. Unfortunately, that can't be a blanket thing for everybody. So I think the thing like that the Biden administration and other leftists are trying to do is like make fossil fuels more expensive just for the sake of them making them more expensive. So people are deterred from using them and they have to go to, I don't think that there's the right time to do that. A couple of reasons why, well, the COVID-19 pandemic is probably a big reason why, because that's put a lot of strain on people. And then the current state of the economy and inflation, everything. I think it's the wrong time to like make a point by making what works and what is viable and sustainable right now more expensive just for the sake of trying to sway people to go the other way. I don't think that makes any sense. But again, a happy, harmonious, conjoined kind of union, so to speak, between renewables and fossil fuels, and slowly rip the Band-Aid off. Go ahead.
Oh, I can say this. I filled up my truck a couple of days ago. F-150. I'm not helping the environment, and I'm proud of it. I had 3/4 of a tank. It cost me $80, and I paid $4.34 a gallon, and I thought that was a good deal, right? So I just went with my father-in-law to get gas, and that same station's down to $4.24 a gallon.
Where the fuck are you getting your gas?
I'm telling you,
$4.90. Jesus.
So, and then I did see an article yesterday that the Biden administration is looking at enacting a 3-month tax holiday on gas. So gas is taxed out the ass, right? Because everyone has to have it. So it's an easy way to generate revenue. So it'll be interesting to see if they actually pull the trigger on that. I don't know if that's a great answer. I understand it helps the poor middle class get to work. And I 100%. From a national perspective, I don't know what that does. We're fucking negative in our GDP. Like, we're so far in the hole that really, does taking tax money away help us in any way? I think we need to maximize the tax revenue that's coming, and I think we need to trim the fat on expenditures and expenses at the national level. So where do you find that? What's in the best national interest to do that? That's a different show, but I did hear that 3 month. I mean, that would probably take $1 off gas prices for 3 months. But that's my issue with it. And then they would go to like 6, 7.
And I that's what I think is. I think this is more again of an optics kind of thing. I think it's like, hey, you need to do something.
We're doing something.
Yeah, like you're spending, Trump spending, everybody's spending forever and ever and ever with money we don't have is finally catching up to us.
But ask Rand Paul how much we have to spend.
Yeah, right. but you need to do something. So this is like kind of like, hey, I'm doing something right now for the next 3 months. Remember this during midterms. But again, I think there's going to be a dramatic spike of cost increase afterwards. And it's one of those things where it's like we're treating symptoms versus the root disease. You know what I mean? You can't like treat a symptom and expect that to be like a long-term solution. That's not how it works. That's like, again, that's taking Advil when you have a brain tumor. It might subside it for a couple of minutes, but it's not going to get rid of the brain tumor. Same fucking thing with what's going on right now in the gas holiday. I think the gas tax holiday, I think it's a bad idea. I think it is a lever that he's pulling right now that like, hey, we need to do something. I'm not going to stop spending. So let's just pull this lever real quick.
How about this idea? I've got an idea.
Okay.
So what if you offered a free or sliding scale subsidization on purchasing your electric car. So like say if you're a poor family, you're struggling with gas prices, you're struggling with this, you're single income, whatever, you're already qualifying for some entitlements like Medicaid or something like that for your kids, at least for the kids. And you're struggling with gas prices, you're struggling with your car, you're struggling with the registration, you're struggling with everything about the fucking car is expensive, right? And what if the government was like, you know what? You're a single mother with 2 kids, you're barely making it now. We'll give you fucking Volt or whatever, a cheap ass electric car, and have it installed for you, taxpayer included, right? But then as it goes up to folks like me and you, there's some incentives to purchase it that make it worth making the decision, but not a full subsidization. Just at least make it worth it. Oh, hey, we're going to give you this car. It's a $50,000 car, but if you go ahead and buy that this year, you can buy it for like 30. And your payments will be much, much less and much more affordable for you, and incentivize you to take on that car payment. And maybe there's something there. That's a way to get us into electric. Now, screaming from the rooftop, go buy a $50,000 car is stupid.
I would like to bargain a little bit, maybe bring some negotiations to the table on that one for people in our income bracket. Be like, look, you're going to need to make this F-150 Lightning just way more affordable here. I'm talking like a 20. I'm talking like a $20K instant rebate that I get after purchase. Like before I even get approved for financing, essentially it's already hitting my bank, like that kind of like instantaneous rebate. And then I also want you to, I also want them to juice up my electrical. I want some power plant fucking grade electrical outlets put on the side of my house just for funsies.
Well, you know what I mean? I honestly think that with a lot of those electric cars, the cost included for a technician to come out and modify your shit for the plugs is part of the deal. So there is some of that. But I don't, some of the problem with the fossil fuel debate, right, is we don't have enough electric cars to replace fossil fuel cars right now. There's just not.
We don't have enough lithium to replace the entire fucking the entire existence of gas cars right now. It's just
we don't have enough copper for the electric motors and the wiring it takes to replace those cars.
We don't have enough. And then bottom line, we don't have enough fueling infrastructure for everybody to do it. Now, and this is like a common misconception. Those Tesla charging stations you see typically, and I did do some research on this. Typically, about 90% of your charging and fueling is done at your house. Only about 8 to 10% is done.
It's on road trips.
Yeah, actually on charging stations. However, you don't want people to be stranded or potentially not have enough of these things. And that's one of the big barriers that people see, myself included, right? It's like, I'm not going to get an electrical vehicle. No, there's not enough like infrastructure to support this. For me, I just don't feel safe enough where I know there's like 2 gas stations on every quarter for like the next 150 miles.
Yeah, you know but if you go down to like, say between here and Santa Fe, when you're coming down to Albuquerque, how many are there logistically before you get to Santa Fe? Which I'm sure there's plenty in Santa Fe, but does Raton have any? I mean, what's the last place you'll see one in Pueblo?
There's one that I know of in Trinidad. On the way down there, I think there's one. I'm sure you can find them in Colorado Springs if you go off the beaten path, but advertised like right off the freeway, there's one bay of charging a Tesla chargers in Trinidad, and that's it. I mean, that's it.
And then you're looking at like 150 to 200 miles to the next one.
Yeah.
There's logistical issues, especially out here. Now, I'm sure if you're on the east or west coast, it doesn't matter. Because that's where people live.
True. they're not a bunch of backwards morons like us
living in the Rocky Mountains. Anyway, let me just pull this note I have in my coveralls and get to this next point. But logistically, there's no feasible way to do that. So here's the thing. People always have these conspiracy theories about the government, right? They have these intricate plans, and everyone trying to fit in something they don't like is this huge conspiracy theory that the government is doing this outrageous plan that thousands of people are involved on and trillions of dollars and all this. But I'm a contractor for the government. There's definitely no masterminds behind things. And the higher up you go, the worse it gets, i.e. the presidents. But if you look at like what we really need, at least for the cars. And dude, it's not the cars that are causing all the problems. New Mexico's biggest power plant's coal. We have a coal power plant somewhere in the Northwest that PNM has. It's all like driven by coal. That's a huge problem for us,
that's right? The biggest, from doing my research, just to give you a heads up, coal is the worst. Like
Yeah.
from when you talk about life cycle of carbon emissions, it's got the worst in production and byproducts and after effects through everything. I mean, yeah, that's number one. That's a glaring thing. I think they need to phase out coal completely. I think
Don't tell Joe Manchin that.
I know, bro.
He's a part owner of one. So a coal mine. So
yeah.
All right. So back to the car thing. So what we really need is an actual like plan. We need the government to make a plan and say, hey, here's our population, here's our car owners. We need to come up with a phased approach with how we're going to get these electric cars manufactured and put in the hands of these people so that we can get a handle on I don't even care about the environment. Fuck the environment right now. I'm straight up talking about feasibility, an energy crisis, running out of gas for everyone, in our economy collapsing, our country going to shit.
Can I stop you right there? Bob said it here first. Fuck the environment.
Well, yeah, dude, I drive an F-150. Anyway, what I'm saying is that we have to develop an actual phased approach to replace our cars. And just like saying we can't manufacture them by 2050, that's cool. That's part of a plan. But where's the rest of the plan? I've yet to see anything in writing about an actual plan. Hey, here's our milestones. Here's what we're going to achieve. Here's like our poem items that we're going to meet in this project up until 2050, where we will no longer be manufacturing any sort of gas-powered vehicles in the United States. All I've heard, and maybe this is the media only letting us, maybe there is a plan. But the media tells us it's by 2050, no more cars.
Yeah, they're basically just saying beyond that, it's like, well, how are you going to do it? Well, we're going to deter people from using fossil fuels by charging more for them and making them more scarce that way. You're like, that's not a good plan. That's a shitty fucking plan. People are scraping by for money and just resources right now. And you're going to make that even tougher to make a point. Again, that's like the whole reason I was bringing that up. This is the wrong time. And you're like, well, when is the right time? When we're not basically on the brink of a nasty fucking recession. You know what I mean? That's the right time.
Potentially just an economic collapse, Scott. I mean, let's just call it what it is. Let's not pussyfoot around it. America's not in good shape economically. We're like $25 trillion in the hole. and it's not getting better. We're not having positive years. We're only having less negative ones.
You know what America needs? They need to maybe write a few IOUs. I hear those are as good as gold. You know what I mean? You're all 25 trillion. That's a big one. Might want to hold on to that one.
This was for the housing market collapse. This was like 3 trillion. You better hold on to that one. So that's kind of it. And I do want to, in the interest of Bobby Sunshine and Rainbows,
there he is.
I do want to point out that the ozone hole above Antarctica, right? That's the famous one, right? Has been repairing itself.
I'm old. That's the one that gets all the bitches.
That's right. It's the huge hole. It can handle the girth.
I'm such an idiot. I don't know.
Again,
dude, a couple of those electric,
no bitch
drinks. They are fantastic. Everybody, please do and indulge. Go ahead, Bobby. Sorry, I didn't mean
so
to.
The hole in Antarctica has actually significantly decreased in size over the last several years, and it's repairing itself. So there is a little bit of a bright spot with the whole like global warming and everything's going to shit and all this. Well, the ozone hole that we were fearing was what was going to melt Antarctica and flood all of the coastlines all over the world, killing billions, is actually getting smaller. But yet Antarctica still keeps melting. So, the theory about it all being the hole is not correct. It's just not. But there is a little bit of positivity there. The hole is getting smaller, and we all like that.
You knew where my mind was already. It's like I was already gonna be like, huge takeaway here. We still needed to do something about global warming, but Bob says he's gonna fill the hole in Antarctica. Everything's fine. Bob's gonna throw his finger in the hole in Antarctica and just put a stop to all this. But no, seriously, I hate to be this guy, Bob, but we're about at time. We're a little bit over time, just a smidge. It
feels like we're a little bit over time, but you know what? The Roe v. Wade thing really threw us for a loop on our show.
Yeah. We didn't even really get to talk about it either. And here's the thing. We'll start to wrap things up right now because we want to be mindful of having just a quality length for just genuine content for the show here. But I mean, Friday was a pretty monumental day. We pretty much, depending on what side of the aisle, we either regressed or we just progressed dramatically, but we did it really quickly. And me and Bob had an entire show on this. I want to say 3 or 4 episodes ago, where we had if you remember, the embryo, right, as our drink. Never going to have those again, by the way.
Yeah, they weren't good.
But here we are, folks. We're putting ourselves in really dangerous territory here. We're just going to make what people are going to do. They're going to do it. People are going to continue to have abortions. It's not going to go away. That's one of the reasons why it's such a hot button topic. And we literally just made it more dangerous to do so. So think about that, because that's where we kind of are right now.
Cocaine's illegal, so no one does coke anymore.
I never have. That's for damn sure.
So,
but
I mean, obviously, if it's illegal, it removes itself from existence, right?
Seriously, look at gun violence when we did have the assault weapon ban during the the 80s and and 90s. So there is that. Whatever. I don't want to get into the weeds too much here, but I know these kind of blue ball kind of just stop the pumping does sting a little bit at first, Bob. But you got anything you want to tell the Stiffies on the way out here?
We'll probably expand more on Roe v. Wade in the future as kind of things unfold. There's some fallout that we're gonna really need to keep an eye on with the states and just in general. So we'll keep an eye on that and probably bring it here in the next couple of weeks about what a dumbass thing this was to spend money on and care about. But
I'll tell you what, Bob, some of my family members are jumping for joy right now. Big victory for Christians. Big victory. You know what I mean? For conservative Christians. They are just jumping out of their skin.
I'm just not a fan of government expanding its power into our personal lives. I don't know. I think that's
you know what I did? I just took that soundbite. I was like, big win for Christians, and then bubble. I'm just not a fan. Stop.
Either way, I didn't take it or leave it. But everyone has their own beliefs and rights, whatever. I would just say that it's not lost to me that there's a certain sense of irony that the majority of conservatives that believe in smaller government and less governmental power push a power down to the states to give them more power in someone's personal lives. I don't know. I just don't get it. It's talk about cherry picking, fucking when the government can have power and when they can't. This is again, one of the things that I have a total libertarian view. Let's just take government out of our medical shit and let people decide what's right for them. I don't know. That's why I say it's fucking ridiculous thing for us to spend money on. Let's just take it away.
Yeah, well, and on this side here, I mean, the slice of irony that I think is interesting too is like in like the same week you have this ruling, and then you also have the ruling that makes concealed carry constitutional. You know what I mean? So it is interesting. It's like women's rights. No, concealed carry for everybody. Yeah. But
well, the forefathers always hid those muskets in their overcoats. No one knew, and it was perfectly fine.
Right. So that is interesting. But yeah, we will follow up on that. I will say a couple of things here. I want to thank everybody for listening again. I really enjoy everybody. We've got a core group of badasses here that we like to call the Stiffies. In case you don't know that, that's exactly what you guys are. That's why we refer to you multiple times in every single show. So continue being awesome out there. Check us out on all the podcast platforms. YouTube, we're still rocking there. If you want to continue to help us out or start helping us out on Patreon, that would be fantastic. We love that because again, show better money equals you know what I'm saying. And one little dangler here. We are at episode 98, Bob. We have one more really, and then we're at the C note mile marker, baby. Isn't that exciting? So I can't wait to see
whoever thought we'd make it to a note.
Seriously, guys. So really excited because we definitely are going to be doing something special for the 100th episode, guys. But until then, we love you all. Take care of yourselves. Please leave your coat hangers in the closet. Don't go crazy. Things will dial down a little bit here. We're going to get through this. Am I right, Bobby?
Yeah, I think so. There's a lot of fear mongering and panic going on right now, but let's let things wash out and see really what's left after the water clears.
Just like prison sex. Until next time, guys. We'll see you soon.
See ya.